Let's talk about follow-ups. Guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you my ultimate wholesaling real estate follow-up guide, and I'm going to teach you how to use actionable steps to be effective in your follow-up. So before we get started, guys, I'm Rick Ginn with Flip with Rick. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll keep bringing you videos just like this. So let's talk about it. Follow-up. Now, if you haven't heard this by now, 70% of your real deals will have some sort of follow-up in it. You always hear the goals and the follow-up. The reason for that is, let's be honest, it's a pain in the butt. You are bugging people, you are hammering them, and you're trying to get contracts done. You're not the only one doing it. In my experience, especially in 18 years, most wholesalers just give up after a few contacts. The wholesalers that will go that extra edge are the ones that will ultimately gain the most competitive advantage in the wholesaling real estate game. So let's talk about follow-up. The reason why follow-up is so important is just this singular focus, and I want you to hear me out. The purpose of a follow-up is you never know exactly when a seller makes that decision to sell their property. So at some point, they contacted you off whatever marketing channel you used, and they expressed interest. But a lot of them sit there and they waver back and forth. We hear the word ghosting, MIA. We're going to go over all this. And they haven't quite made that decision. But at some point, at any given day, they make that snap decision and go, I'm going to sell. Whoever is on their mind, who's in front of them, who has a postcard, whoever texted them last, whoever called them, whoever was nonstop in their follow-up is usually the first person in mind, and that's the one they contact. And that's why you need to have a follow-up system in your wholesale real estate game. So let's talk about this. A lot of you guys screw up just in the very beginning, and you get all complicated with these systems. I need this advanced CRM. And the first 5 years plus I did this business, I did it off a notepad. Now, it was a yellow notepad, and it was legal. It was a little bit longer. And then the next one is I got more advanced. I used an accordion file. It had 1 through 31 on it. So if I called somebody in the first and I said I was going to call them back in 2 weeks, I would write a note. I would pull their card and I'd put it in number 14. And so whatever's 14, I would call those people. A long time ago, guys, I know. So now we have this great thing called computers. What you need to do is stick with one system and stick it out. I used Google Sheets for a while. 2006, I was doing some of the Google Sheets to 2008. And that's, if you know how to use Google Sheets and you like that, it's a great way to manage your leads. You don't have to make this overly complicated. You don't need a $300 CRM. Does it help? Yeah, if you're doing a lot of volume. But if you're just trying to get your first few deals on your pipeline, do not waste money on a CRM. It's not that hard. So Google Sheets is a great one. There's some very cost-effective CRMs. There's a million of them. I'm not going to go through each one of them because I think they're all great. The question is which one's great for you. And the real answer to that is the one you stick to, because if you think going from one system to the next system is going to fix all your problems, you're dead wrong. You need a system that you can follow up. Once you master follow-up and you want to do a more advanced CRM that has some more technologies in it capable of it, do it. But until you master your follow-up, do not keep changing. I see people changing. Oh, I need to get this. I need to go from this. I need to do this one. Guys, you just need a system so you can call back people when you need to call them back. And the reality is if you're working on 20 or 30 leads, there's no way you can use this system to do follow-up. So we're humans. We're only capable of doing so much at one time. We need the aid of something. It's called a follow-up system. So Google Sheets, an affordable CRM, whatever it is. If you even want to do the old notepad and the accordion file, if you're just getting starting out, that'll get you through your first few months. I promise you, because you will be laser focused. Follow-up is so important. So first thing is stick to one system. The second thing is you need to define what your parameters are in your follow-up. So I'm not going to complicate this. I'm a very simple guy. Let's keep it simple, stupid, right? So let's use the KISS method. So the first one is You need to decide what your urgency is. I've been doing this 18 years. I have hot leads, I have warm leads, I have cold leads, and then I have crap dead leads, and I get rid of those. So hot, warm, cold. Let's just start there. That's all you have to identify them. Don't worry about color codes or anything. A hot lead, in my opinion, day, you need stuff done that day. You need the contract signed. Hot lead means they're ready to sign. They're willing to go. All your attention focuses on hot leads. A warm lead is somebody you're working on. They need to bring in more decision makers, or they need to need just a little bit more time, and you've identified them. That person is going to be anywhere from a 72-hour to a 1-week window at most. You decide based on your conversation with the seller, and that's a warm lead. It means you're very close to having a deal done, and you need to keep it on focus. If you're talking to them every other day or every third day, that is a warm lead. And as you shift past a warm lead, then you decide if you're going to follow up in a week or 30 days. And a cold lead is going to be anything that would be 30 days and plus. Remember, follow up. Just because they're cold, they can turn hot. And you need to be the person in front of them when they make that decision. That is your job. You've got to be memorable. And the best way to do it, you can do all your cute, fancy marketing stuff. It's simply following up. That's why 70% of your deals will come from follow-up, because people are not always ready to sell when you first contact them. If you only contact them 2 or 3 times, then you'll never know when they're ready to sell. And what's the point if we spend all this money and time on leads? We need to do the follow-up. So define your parameters. Define the urgency. The next one is we talk about a follow-up sequence. And guys, I'm going to keep this super simple. I'm going to talk about, if I'm going to follow up, if I've marked the lead super hot, what's the best way to contact the super hot lead? I mean, like they're ready to sign right then and there. Are you going to call them? You're going to text them? You're going to email them? Common sense, guys. So let's talk about the follow-up sequence. The easiest way to get a deal signed up for someone's ready to go right now is a face-to-face meeting, a belly-to-belly meeting. You will have the greatest success doing this. All hot leads should have somebody getting in a car. I don't care if you got to get on a bike, get in front of the seller and get the contract signed. Yes, you can do it. DocuSign, dot loop, sign this, electronic that is, but getting that physical signature will always be beneficial unless you can do it electronically. So that's number one, belly to belly. The next one, just simple phone call. Hey John, let's get together. I want to kind of go over some terms. I got some great ideas for you. Is today at 2:00 good for you? And then go ahead. The idea of the phone call is to get that face-to-face, or worse, if you have to do a Zoom or an electronic sign because they're in another state or you're doing the business virtually, that's it. It's urgent. It works. People have their phones. They know when it rings, and hopefully they know you by now. So the first thing we're going to do is a face-to-face. The phone will push me up to a face-to-face. So what's the next sequence? Number 3 is going to be text. 95% of texts that are sent are read. People love text. There is no filter on text. Text work very well, and you guys know that. So if you can't do a phone call, the next thing I'm going to do a text, or I'm going to do a phone call, then I'm going to do a text. I'm always going to do the phone call before the text because I can hear them. Remember, when you're texting, you can only see what they're writing. You don't know the tonality or what their emotional level is on a text, unless they do an emoji, which I don't recommend doing that. So we have face-to-face, phone call, text. The next one is, believe it or not, this has moved it up on the list. Number 4 is going to be social media. So I will tell you, Facebook Messenger is extremely powerful, and it works, and you can tell when they're online. I can't tell you how many times we're able to contact sellers when they go MIA or they just ghost on us, meaning we can't find them or they just disappear, or when they're around. It's hard for them to hide from you on social media. So you guys know they have like a little green button on there. Unless you hide it, you can see when they're online. Perfect opportunity to send them a message and connect with them. Hopefully they respond to it. The social media on the Messenger platform instant message, anything like that works really, really well. I don't need to go over you iPhone users. You can tell when people are reading, when they're typing, when it was delivered. iPhone works really well for that. Next one is going to be emails. I got to be honest with you. Unless you have a relationship and they're expecting an email from you, that's probably going to go unread, but why not give it a shot? Plus, you can automate the emails, so it's really, really easy to do. And then the last but not least, going to be regular mail. Regular mail I'm usually using for cool to cold leads, just to get them refreshed, to get the site in mind and kind of get my branding and my image in front of them. I'm never sending a regular piece of mail to someone that's hot. You just don't have time for it. So basically, if you walk through that progression, belly to belly, phone, text, social media, email, and then regular mail, that's what you want to do. So once you've marked the urgency, you've identified your sequence on when to activate them, it's up to you to set some sort of policy or simple common sense. If it's hot, someone's got to do a face-to-face or like contact them like right there, and then so on and so on. Now, emails, text, and regular mail, you can make that for everybody. I would prioritize your top 3 ways to connect with your very, very urgent leads. So I will tell you this, it's a simple strategy and it's overlooked, and I'm going to add it on the bottom because this used to be the first way you do it. When a lead starts what I call MIA, which is missing in action if you're in the military, or we use the term ghosting, it means they just disappear on you, like they're avoiding you. Like one day they're hot and then they turn ice cold. Guys, after a certain amount of time, do not let too much time go on. So if you had a great conversation with a lead yesterday and then 2 days gone by, they're not returning your messages, your texts are going unread, nothing, you can't get them on Facebook Messenger, get in your car and go knock on the door. Make sure you have established some sort of rapport before you knock on doors, and make sure you have a somewhat of a relationship. I do not advise anybody just to go cold knocking on doors. Make sure you have a previous relationship with them, meaning you spoke on the phone, you have texts, and make sure you do that. But it's very hard for them to avoid you when you knock on the door. These are the follow-up sequences. So that leads me to the next step, which is, I get this question all the time. Rick, when do you stop the follow-up? Now, I could simply tell you, basically when they die, I'll stop, but that's a cliche. And so let's use some common sense to us. So anyone who gives me the foul language, kind of the F you, like, get off my, don't ever contact me again. I don't want to waste time with that person, and there is no point to follow up. I've heard some people say, well, maybe they'll change their mind. Honestly, with an attitude like that, you're probably never going to get a deal with them. So if they're really rough, screaming at you using foul language, just get them out of your database and move on with your life. Do not mail to them. Do not do anything. It's just going to create you more heartache, and they'll probably become a pain in your butt. The next one is, they contact you, they're just stern and say, listen, stop contacting me. I'm never, ever selling in my house. I have no interest in selling in my house. If you call me again, I'm going to call the police on you. I'm probably taking that person off my list. That's what I do in my company. And guys, don't follow up people who don't want it. If you think you're going to sit there and force them to do a deal with you, it's never going to happen. There has to be some sort of consent. Those are really the only 2 times I take people off my list. Now, 9 times out of 10, people are pretty polite with you. You go, listen, I'm just not selling now. It doesn't mean you're not going to sell in the future. Guys, the reality is, on these follow-ups, you spent money. You probably pulled the list somewhere, or you went down to the courthouse, or you went out and spent your hard-earned money on driving for dollars, and you collected this list. Your job is to engage these prospects to become leads, to turn into contracts, to turn into cash. If you do not do follow-up because you're just too lazy or you don't have a system, you are wasting money. And if you're in real estate, specifically wholesaling, you spend this money, you owe it to yourself to do a follow-up. Why not do a follow-up? Let me give you an example. I had a follow-up on a deal, took 4 years. 4 years. Probably 150 plus contacts total. Hey, we haven't come to a decision yet. Yeah, it was the same. It's like it became robotic. I could have easily stopped and not done the follow-up. guess what? Year 4, they called. The market really exploded. And you know what they said? Mr. Rick, if you can do that contract price that you offered us, we'll go ahead and move forward. We're ready to sell. Now, that contract price was from 4 years ago in Florida in a rapidly appreciating market. My follow-up paid it off huge. And you know what? They were so happy because they were comfortable with me. I already built rapport with them. I assumed they'd go up in price, but they asked me if I would honor the agreement, and I said yes. So follow-up pays. You guys are spending money on leads. If you're not doing a follow-up, you're going to be out of business soon because 70% plus your leads are going to have some sort of follow-up. And when I say follow-up, I'm talking at least 5 or more contacts, not 1 through 3. Anybody can do 1 through 3 follow-ups. That's a given. And to be honest with you, that's where most investors stop. So take my advice. It's really simple. Get a system, stick with it. Identify your urgency, hot, warm, cold, I don't care, medium, whatever you want to put in there, and then figure out your follow-up sequence from face-to-face all the way down to like snail mail, which ones get which. It's easy to automate some of these tasks. Most CRMs, you can put in a task, follow up with them in a week, comes up. If you have 15 people you got to follow up with that day, remember, as your database grows, there's more and more follow-up. It's more work. Yes, it's work, but it's more opportunity. You've already spent the money. Take it to the finish line, guys. So many deals come from the follow-up. I can't even tell you. And if you want to be lazy, this is the one spot you do not want to do it on. Your follow-ups will make you a fortune. And when do you stop following up? Never. Listen, if they say get you off your list and they're nasty about it with some foul language, don't waste your time or anybody you work with. So the last question I get a lot is, Rick, how do you attack the follow-up on your marketing list? Once again, I'm going to give you guys overthink this so many times. So if I have like a high equity list, which is very common, or say like an absentee owner list, or even a code violation list, is I'm making sure I contact that list minimum once a quarter. Don't overthink it. That's only every 90 days. I'm going to find a way to get in front of them. And maybe it's a text, maybe it's a cold call, maybe it's a piece of mail. One way or the other, I'm going to get in front of that customer. And as you do that, your list will narrow down as you go on if you're updating your list. The only way you can update that list is by reaching out to them to see if they're still active, meaning just a slight few will say, take me off your list, give you some foul language. They're actually doing you a favor because they're being authentic with you. And I'd rather have someone tell me no than maybe, because I can do so much more with a no. I can move on with my life. A maybe, I got to figure out which way to go. All I have to do is figure out what is their maybe. That's what follow-up is all about. So guys, if you like videos like this and you want to keep them coming, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Tell me, what's your follow-up system? Do you think you overcomplicate it? And let's be honest, how much follow-up do you do? And do you think there's actually too much follow-up? Can there be too much follow-up? Love to hear from you. Guys, this is Rick with Flip with Rick, and I'll see you soon.